So I'm doing this as a response to an Instagram meme slash post, and calling it Sitting Bull's Arrow because I have a arrow sitting on the wall behind me that is a replica of one of Sitting Bull's arrows from a museum that a dude at like a Mountain Man Rendezvous thing made like a million years ago now. And I have it hanging on the wall instead of like a rifle or a gun or whatever because I think it's funny to have basically the Indian's arrow or one of the ones like Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, Geronimo. I had my choice to pick amongst a couple of dozen different war chiefs. I like the look of Sitting Bulls, so I got that one. Point is, Sitting Bull literally fought the American government with sticks and stones and shit. I think that's badass. The Instagram post was let me just read it. So never accept an inferior position to anyone. It is the strongest spirit that wins, not the most expensive sword. Miyamoto Musashi. And he went on to say that he finds himself saying this more and more often lately. Just because you have the nicest weaponry doesn't mean you know how to use it. It's a pet peeve of mine that when people do that and can barely hit the broadside of a barn. Get what you can readily afford, but save up for the step above. Okay. This is my response to that is most people probably don't need the step above. I guess it depends on what you consider to be that initial first step. I've taken this journey in my life from literally being where Aimpoint was a cheap optic because everything else was fucking high end European glass and shit. Where, my scopes cost more than people's guns by a fair margin. To, I only had like a Tokarev or a 32 revolver and a shotgun at one point, to now I've got a pile of guns. It's not as much as I used to have, but it's quite a bit. But like the thing is, the reason I had a giant pile of guns was I had I was addicted to the hunt for the gun, and that you assemble a pile of them. And what I came to find in this quest was you can spend more money. That is a thing. And the experiment that I did was I've tried using rifles that were everything from pretty much plain Jane Vietnam era M16s. I was using that gun side by side with my whiz bang tactical thing. And what I was finding was, is the whiz bang tactical thing cool? Yes. Is it worth several $1,000s? I don't know. And where I came to in this hunt is the Loki project. If you've seen that, I made a video on that. It's an AR-15 on the KE Arms polymer lower, kind of an M16A3 upper from Palmetto State. I don't see anything wrong with that gun. That gun has two optics for it. One is a Holosun and one is a Weaver 2-7 by 32 Caspa in a SPR mount. It can have either one on it, but I don't see any reason to upgrade that. Whoa, shit. It would be one thing if I was like doing something that necessitated a better gun than that. But in reality, it's a pretty damn good gun. I'm not saying every budget upper is a good gun, but this is where learning to tell, trash from treasure is a good thing in the gun world and in the optics world too. Like the Weaver Caspa I mentioned was $100 scope when I bought it, and it will outperform scopes that cost more. because it's a Weaver. And that's kind of sad, but it's kind of true. Like, it's not always true in things, but like some companies are legitimately better and have a better name for some reasons, and some of that is quality over time. And I like Weaver Optics, and that's pretty much been the opinion of anyone who's ever owned them. I've put that particular scope through hell and back, and it's lost bits and pieces, but it still works. The little rubber bit on the back is gone, and my front eye shade kind of started to spin off the other day, but I tightened it back on, so I think we're good. Um, it has a sand spot on top of it from riding in a vehicle that is pretty crazy, you know. And that's kind of my thing with that gun is that is not the best gun money can buy, and it's not the most technologically inept piece of shit on the planet. I built exactly what I feel I need. It has a red dot that can be put on it to have a home defense blaster set up if that's what I want. If we're going to go hunting or something and I want to put a scope on it to do that, I have that. That's kind of my thought with that gun. And I have other guns and shit too. I have a Sig Flux Raider that is pip-tastic as fuck. Okay, no expenses spared on that one. Um, do I prefer that to the budget AR-15? Not really. Like if I had to keep one or the other of those, I would keep the Flux Raider because I think a PDW is probably more valuable for shit hits the fan in the short term. In the long term, the rifle probably is, but in the short term, the ability to hide that PDW would be pretty bitchin'. But when it comes to, the Indian, not the arrow, and like, oh, you should learn how to live with this, and you need this giant whiz bang crap. Everybody's wrong. Okay, the real answer to most of this shit is, what are you trying to accomplish with your weapon? Tell me exactly what you want to do. Then we can answer. But until you're like telling me what you want to do, it's hard to generalize. Now, if you're just like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want out of a rifle when you're looking about quality versus cost? Well, for me personally, I would look for a company to build. I'm talking AR-15s here. There are a lot of other guns, but the AR-15 is like America's gun, and we can use it as kind of a generality for most guns. But on the AR-15, it is a unique scenario in that it is a gun that can be pieced together. This is not a normal thing. So anything I'm saying here about the upper manufacturer, if you're talking about an AK or something, you can just consider that about the gun manufacturer. Um, I would go with a quality manufacturer that has a known reputation, and I would go to select which one, to be honest. I would always go with Palmetto State Armory, but that's me. But if you wanted to like get an idea of what, is out there, go to a couple of gun stores. I would say go to a gun show. Gun shows are pretty much pointless. I would look up in your phone book or something and find gun stores. And if you find a good one with a bunch of guns, ask them about other good stores that you're just wanting to go look at a bunch of guns and that you're not really buying anything today, but that you want to like see options and stuff and know what you're wanting to look for, and they'll tell you about other stores. And that's kind of outside the spectrum of what we're supposed to talk about here. But when it comes to quality versus cost, I would always tend to go with let's spend a little bit more money. That's what people don't want to hear. What I choose to do in my own life is considerably different, and that is I got addicted to the hunt and I wanted something to hunt for. And the thing that I found to hunt for is what's the best for the money? It's an interesting answer. What's the best for the money, and what would you carry if you were going to carry it on your person? These are interesting questions. And like this is, I guess, building a loadout versus like buying a collection of guns. And like maybe you shouldn't have 18 guns that all fit on your person at the same time. But that's kind of cool. Um, Not that I have that, but like my loadout for the end of the world, I have options, and if I put them all on at the same time, I would look like a ridiculous pirate. Okay, so like I would do a little more of that rather than having one gun that I dumped all my money into. Not that you need to have a whole bunch of guns that you can't all shoot at the same time. And this is like where that argument comes in, right? Well, you can only shoot one gun at a time. Yeah, that's why I only have like 3 long guns and a PDW. Like that's for one person, that's a lot of guns, I think. And maybe someday if I'm combining efforts with my buddy or whatever, have a we have more arms then. But until then, like if you don't need that many, then how much can you afford to spend? And that's where like when it came to the PDW, I looked at the market and what I needed, and I decided that I was going to spend some money there because I think it's cool and I wanted it. And honestly, I think the Flux Raider, it has some costs associated with it, but compared to buying an MP5, I went the budget route. That was the other gun that was up for consideration, was buying an MP5K pistol and running it with a sling, probably. And I think I made the right choice on that. My idea is if the brace thing completely goes up kaput or whatever, I'm going to cut the brace stock shit off of that and permanently modify it to where it can just be a single point only kind of thing. Use it like the MP5K PDW pistol I was wanting to use. It is still a bitchin' like competition rig or something, even without the stock on it. I mean, brace. 1 second. But when it comes to like spending a whole bunch of money, like if it's an AR-15, uh, you don't need to spend that much. I'm not saying don't get exactly what you want, but you need to know that like the difference between like a Midwest Industries rail, a Geisley rail, and a Knights Armament rail and an LMT rail is probably not a whole lot. Now, is that true of all rails? No. Not at all. And this is where the people get into the whole quality over quantity thing, and they're right. They're right. My second AR-15 has a cheap rail on it, but it's just a home defense blaster. It's a fucking Bear Creek upper that I wish I hadn't bought. But I do that so that you people can like know that Bear Creek Arsenal is shit. I guess that's just my opinion. Maybe I got a turd upper. There are places to spend money and places not to spend money. I wouldn't spend a whole ton on an AR-15. And when it comes to other guns, you have other shit to buy. I see a whole bunch of people that have a cool bag of toys to take to the range, but they don't have any of the other associated equipment. And that's kind of what I try to like do videos on this channel now is I want to do gun videos and I will still do some gun videos and whatever. But what I do a fuck ton is this kind of radio show bullshit for fun that I like. And it varies from serious shit like this to me fucking around for 3 hours high. So, like, it varies. But some of this is meant to, like, give you an idea of things that you could do. Because, like, I'm taking a minivan and outfitting it for the end of the world because I think it's the most cost effective thing to do that gets me the most amount of things. And I think it's kind of funny. Okay? Should you do that? No, probably not. But, like, you could go find a cheap beater car and take some inspiration from me. And that's, my night vision rig I'm working on. I'm working on the helmet right now, and then I'm just going to be saving up for a while. But I'm going to show you how to have nods on a budget, how I would do it. I decided that basically I'm going to get a PVS 7, play around with it. If you'd like to know more about that, I'll do a video on my PVS 7 plans after this, I guess. Anyway, my point in getting some of this associated gear, like some sort of transportation that could take you and friends around, okay? And like for my van, I'm setting it up to where there's like a bed in the back and a fucking kitchen in the back and making it kind of a camper thing. But you could make the Mad Max minivan of doom many things. You can build whatever you want in there. You could have left the seats in it. It's an interesting vehicle for $2,000. And that's, my everything that I try to preach here is this. Okay, we don't have any money. We need to buy X, Y, and Z, like those KE Arms lowers. I love those things, and I love them because they are cheap and light. And I love them so much that I'm just glad that KE Arms didn't decide to be H&K. That's what I'm glad. Thank you very much, KE Arms. Aside from that shit, I have other priorities and things that need money and attention and skills and time and whatever besides guns. And if you need to learn how to shoot guns, there's places that you can go and do that. As far as practicing regularly, uh, here's what I'm doing. I built a 22 takedown rifle as an Appleseed rifle with kind of M1 Grand iron sights and a dual 10 round mag. That's my plinker. And it was really cheap. It was a $200 Savage Model 64 takedown. Okay. That's how I'm maintaining rifle proficiency. And for pistols, I got a 1911 and a cap and ball revolver. Hopefully I can keep those going. On the AR-15 front, it would be cool to get a 22 conversion kit, but I'm also going to set aside some money to get 5.56 ammo because, like, that's one of those you have to haves. Like, we need to have some live fire 5.56 shooting because we like it, and because, like, preparedness, right? And this is, back to this whole Miyamoto Musashi thing. Like, you don't need the flashiest sword. You need a sword that fucking works, and you need to know how to use it. I guess that's the message of this video. And as far as a sword that works, my preference is a Palmetto State Armory upper on a KE Arms lower. That is a cheap fucking rifle. The upper I would buy is like $389. It's the Cold Hammer forged premium upper that is the mid-length A2 looking upper. I guess it's an A3 because it has a flat top on the back. But at that point, you take that and you put a KE Arms lower on it, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like, I would suggest getting a Magpul Pro backup sight. You can get those for $69 on Arms Unlimited. I have no association with them. They're just where I score my shit cheap. And that rifle there is what you can get a K arms lower for 130, 150 bucks. So talking 6-ish without the sight, 7-ish with a sight probably. Let's call it 650. That's really, really fucking cheap. And that is a really, really good rifle. There are other options, but like that's what I preach is that one. If you want to cheap out, you could go the phosphate route. I bought the phosphate upper because I kind of figure I'll buy a chrome line one next. But yeah, Loki's got the cheap barrel in her because let's see what happens. I'm curious. I that's me. I'm a curious kind of person, and I do a lot of different things just to see what works. That's half of what the videos on this channel have always been. And the audio stuff on this channel is just kind of me ranting at the universe and doing topical shit like this. So if you like these, please subscribe, and you should go check out. God, where did my phone go? The person who I was responding to on Instagram, who I'll put in the title of this now, I guess, since I forgot to mention him at the beginning. Is a regular guy reviews. That's A_regular_guys_reviews. I've liked his stuff for a long time. He has a good Instagram page. Go follow him for sure. I feel bad now for not saying to follow him at the start of this, but I think anyone worth a damn will probably be more hardcore listening at the end than at the beginning. And that's kind of my feeling with most things. And I fuck around a lot and go on a lot and talk too long and whatever, but maybe that's half the point. I don't know. I don't know what the point is. I hope someone enjoyed this. I'll see you guys later.